In this demo, I'm going to show you how to make the beautiful rainbow and the background using the new stitched dot circles. So what I've done here is I've actually taken, what you could do is you could do this as you receive them if they're stuck down. But what I've done is taken a large piece of card, just a really thin piece of card, and put some double-sided tape down. I've crossed off the extra bits and I've put all the circles down in exactly the same place. So these are pretty much very stuck to the paper. So here on the board I've got dies 1, 2 and 3. So stuck down I've got dies 4 to 16. Now it is important for this technique to actually stick your dies down, and I've used double-sided tape, and there isn't enough gap for it to really grab your card. Just make sure, I didn't at first leave, I left some tape hanging out so it ripped my card a little bit, but that's now covered. But just using low tack tape or on a magnetic sheet, as you take all of the pieces out, these will move, and it's very important that you have these staying in exactly the same place so that it actually works. So that's what I've done, and you may need to alter the sandwich in your machine to actually enable you to cut all of these pieces. So what I've done is I've got my plates here. I'm just going to put my die down flat, and I'm going to start with a piece of red card. So I'm using a piece of red card here. I'm just going to pop it on top, and I'm going to run that through my machine. Now, as I said, it is very important that all of the pieces stay in exactly the right place. So it is important that you tape them down to the die like that. Now, I'm going to bring out the pieces that I've already got cut, which I have here. But I'll show you first of all what you get when these are cut. So when I take my plates off, you can see there I've got all my circles cut through. So I can just peel off each one. If any don't cut correctly, you can always run some scissors or a knife around. Although if you get the tension in your machine right, it will be absolutely fine. So I'm going to release all of those circles, and I'm going to cut this in all the colours of the rainbow. So if I move over to here, you can see that this is I've already done. So I've got red and a dark yellowy orange, a lighter yellow, a green, a light blue, a dark blue, and a purpley colour. And you want to take each size, the next size down for each colour. But what this means is, I've calculated by doing this, you will have enough pieces to make yourself at least 6 circles, if not 8 if you start larger. And that means that you'll be able to cut those in half and get yourself 12 or 16 rainbows. So you just take it and start smaller each time. So what I'm going to do is, here I've got a piece of my double-sided adhesive sheet. So I'm just going to peel off the protective cover. So we'll take that off. Well done, John. And we'll place that down. And you may find it easier to keep the protective cover just over the top, just a touch. And I'm going to take, first of all, obviously as it's a rainbow, my red circle. So I'm going to pop down my red circle. We'll peel this off and use that to just make sure it's stuck. Then I'm going to take the next one, and because they were all stuck together, each one of these will be exactly right. So it doesn't matter that I've changed card in between each one. So bright yellow, we're then going to go to the light yellow. I'm going to go to the green, and you can make this in any colour you want. It would look really nice monochromatic, just done in black and white, and alternate each one. So I'm going to go light blue, dark blue, and I'm going to finish off with the purple. So there I've got a sort of target. It makes me think of sort of kids' TV shows from years ago. And all I would do is simply cut this in half. That means each time you do this, you will get 2 rainbows. You can use your trimmer if you want to. And then take a pair of scissors and just trim around each circle. Take a little bit more time and care than I'm doing. I've actually got one already cut. So I'll finish this and move one in. There we go. So we take that off, and then we would cut out the centre piece. And once we've done that, we will have a rainbow just like that. So really simple, but really, really effective. So we've made our rainbow. So what I need to do now is to make the background for it. So I've taken one of the pieces of the stitched dot squares and cut myself a nice mat for that, very, very simply. And I'm going to use my Textures 1 stencil, which I think should still be available on the website. It's an A4 stencil. To make it easier, I've cut it down in the center because that's a lot simpler. And in there you get the mask and the stencil. So I'm going to start by just putting a moon, or it could be a sun, up here in the top left-hand corner. And I'm using one of the mini Eyes Ink pigment inks and a finger dauber, both from Crafts 2. So take a little bit of ink on, and all I'm going to do is just swirl the ink around this shape to start with. So taking it out quite nicely, we'll put our space back in. You can do this inside your Press to Impress to keep a magnet to keep it down, or you could use a little bit of glue. And I'm just going to then take the ink and pull it out a little bit on the dauber and pull it out to the edges. The reason I'm using pigment ink is it's a lovely chalky ink that blends beautifully and it gives you a more opaque look. It's not quite as sharp as the dye-based ink. So we take our moon off, and there we go, we've got our moon. I simply then take the stencil itself, and I'm going to use this section, which is the cloud cutout. I'm going to take more of the ink, and I'm using the same colour on the dauber, and I'm just going to circle around this top edge. You do feel at the beginning as if you're achieving nothing with this. There we go, but you can see there we've got a cloud line. I'm going to move the stencil and put myself another one in, and I would keep working down and just adding these little cloud lines with that until I've gone all the way to the bottom. You can do as many as you want or as few as you want, but then you've also got these little cloud masks that come within the set, and you get the stencil section as well. So I'm going to put those on, and I'm just going to shade the ink all around. So I'm going to have those randomly around, just like that. But you can see the more blue you put on, the more the white is evident. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but literally the more blue we put on, the more that the white stands out. So we would continue doing that until we've filled the whole thing with clouds. And I've got one here that I've already done. So I'm going to pull this one in, and I've matted and layered it using the plain squares, the new ones from Crafts 2, from Presscut. So I've matted and layered it onto a light blue and then a dark blue, and I've stamped on the edge a little sentiment from my Loving Sentiments set. I've got here my rainbow, and of course, because I use double-sided adhesive, all I have to do to stick this on is peel off the adhesive and place that exactly where I want it to be. Over a little bit over the moon, into the clouds, and just focusing on that sentiment. We'll pull our piece of card out, and there you go, a really simple, bright, sunny rainbow card for any occasion.